Thank you. Folks, I have a question for you as we start out today. How many of you have something in your business you would like to change? You'd like it to be different, better. You want your employees to do something maybe that they're not doing or stop doing something they are doing. Any of you in that position? How about in your personal lives? Is there anything you would like to change? Maybe you want to lose weight. Perhaps you want to get in better physical condition. Maybe you want to break a bad habit. Or maybe in your family situation or in your marriage, you would like to change some kind of a relationship, improve it, make it better. Anybody in that situation? Based on our experience and all the research we have done throughout the world, here's what we've found. You can have any one of those things you want. In fact, influencer, the subtitle is actually called The Power to Change Anything. And based on all our experience and all our research, we've come up with a systematic way and found time and time again that influencers do it exactly this way. So what I want to do today is talk to you about one particularly powerful concept that I think will make a huge difference in terms of the results you get. So first thing, let me just kind of give you a general overview of what we're talking about. If you want to change something, the idea is to get in your mind clearly a specific and measurable result. And why do we say specific and measurable? Because this is the type of thing that you know exactly where you are, the progress you're making, and when you have achieved it. Secondly, we found that all results flow from behaviors. In other words, what people do or don't do gives us every result we get. Agreed? So the question is, how do we then get people to engage in the behaviors that will give us the results? We talk about 6 sources of influence, and I specifically want to focus on one of them, and it's called personal motivation. And personal motivation basically says that you want to, I want to, they want to engage in the behavior that we want people to engage in, or to stop engaging in the wrong behavior. First thing we've learned is that verbal persuasion is the least effective way to get anybody to do anything, and yet typically, honestly, by show of hands, when you want your kids to do something different, when you want your employees to do something different, what's the first thing we typically do? How many use verbal persuasion? And yet, it's the least effective method. So let me talk about 2 particularly powerful approaches you can use. Number 1 is to, rather than tell people about it, give them a personal experience. One way you can do that is through what we call a field trip. Let me share an experience with you. An American car company knew they had problems. They knew they had challenges. They knew that their competition was beating them on all fronts. They talked to the employees about it, and the employees didn't want to hear it. The employees didn't believe it. Basically, they were saying, you just want your fat bonuses at our expense, and we work our tails off to give you those bonuses. So the management got together. They realized that nothing was changing, so they said, we have a better idea. Why don't we show them what we've learned? Why don't we actually take them over there and show them what we're talking about? And so they got a group of employees together, and they literally went over to Japan. They'd arranged to take a tour of the factory and watch what the competition was doing. As everybody watched the workers work, they were amazed at how hard and how fast they worked. These people were much, much, much faster than their American counterparts. Interestingly enough, as they walked away from the plant that day, they realized that the employees didn't buy into this. The employees thought it was a setup. They said they knew we were coming, they knew we were going to be here, and they were just doing that to put on a show for us. So that night in their hotel rooms, they hatched a plan, and here's what they came up with. They sneaked back to the factory that night, and they wanted to watch the evening shift and see what it was really like. And when they got back to that evening, they realized that if anything, the evening shift were much harder workers than the others. And they were scared because they realized all of a sudden that what their management had been telling them was absolutely the truth. So immediately when they arrived back in the United States, they got their colleagues together and they said, they have been telling us the truth. These people are going to drive us out of business if we don't make changes. And you know what their colleagues said? Yeah, right. You've just been co-opted by management. So here's the point, folks. If you can give somebody a personal experience rather than just tell them about it, rather than just talk about it, it is much more personally motivating. That's a powerful, powerful approach. But what happens if you can't give them a personal experience? Then what do you do? If you can't give somebody a personal experience, then what you can do is give them what we call a vicarious experience. In other words, they don't have to literally experience it, but they can see it through somebody else's eyes. Often, the best way to do this is through what we call powerful, compelling stories. How many of you have been to meetings, presentations before? You may not remember everything about the meeting or presentation, but often the story sticks with you. You ever had that experience? Well, that's the type of thing we're talking about. So let me give you an example of Martha Swai. Martha Swai lives in Tanzania. She is the program manager for Radio Tanzania. Martha Swai realized that there were a number of social problems they were dealing with in Tanzania. Domestic abuse was one, the increase and spread of HIV/AIDS virus, and family planning, or the lack of family planning, I guess I should say. And she wanted to know how to tackle these. So she created a radio serial drama called Twende na Wakati, which means go with the times. And in this drama, she created some characters. Some were good and some were bad. And basically, she was trying to demonstrate some of the problems here. The drama was very, very popular. And every time it played, more and more listeners were tuning into it. In fact, it was so popular that one of the main characters, who had a rather distinctive voice, showed up to the marketplace one day, and while he was buying some things and talking with the clerk, some women recognized his voice, and they hated him so much from the character he played that they began to throw produce at him, literally. So obviously it was having the impact that was intended. So the drama continued, and at one point, this particular character came down with AIDS virus. And people were shocked and stunned. The men who had admired this cool, edgy guy were devastated because their hero was basically fallen at this point. And the interesting thing about it is that drama continued. While he was ill, he still didn't change his abusive behavior at home. And eventually he lost his wife and he lost his family as well. Because of that radio serial drama, which was fictitious, 88% of listeners adopted a new HIV/AIDS preventive behavior. 88% of people did that. Over 7 million people changed their lives because of a very powerful story. So here's the message. You can literally change anything you want to. You have the power and the capability to do that. There is a proven system that we've discovered through lots of research. And that is to, number one, make sure that you understand clearly what you want to go after. It's specific, it's measurable. Number two, recognize that all results come from behavior, what people either do or don't do. And then identify what are those few key, most important behaviors, kind of the leverage behaviors that will give you those results. And then the third piece is to recognize that we need to get people to then engage in those behaviors. And the question is, how do we do that? We said there are 6 sources of influence. We've talked about one of them. It's called personal motivation. And basically what we're talking about here is how you, rather than try to use verbal persuasion, how do you get people to engage in the right behavior, to disengage from the wrong behavior? And we said, number one, rather than tell them, give them a personal experience. For example, take them on a field trip. Or secondly, if they can't have a personal experience, give them some kind of a vicarious experience, and a powerful story will do that. And these are 2 incredibly powerful techniques for creating the motivation to change behavior.